We're happy to announce that on March 20th, Sauna Camp will be coming back to Minnesota for its second annual event. We're going to have 3 panelists talking about wellness. We've got a Mount Everest summiter, we've got 2 Ironman athletes, and the inventor of hostage tape. In addition, we're going to have, of course, 2 hours of sauna and cold plunge with some Himalayan chocolate in between. We'll have themed saunas. We'll have story sauna, silent sauna, community sauna for different topics. And then we'll end with an amazing wood-fired meal from Fumo. All the details are on the CuriousBuilderPodcast.com.
A lot of people come in and they see our stuff and they go, oh, really like it. You know what? We have 120 acres over, 30 miles from here. Can you build there? And we do. And we probably wouldn't get that if we didn't have the sales tool of our neighborhood in our spec home. I brought on a CFO, and he does not like it, but he's understanding my philosophy behind it.
Welcome to Curious Builder Podcast. I'm Mark Williams, the host. Today we have our Losers or Winners series in person. We've got David Werschay with Werschay Homes up in St. Cloud, Minnesota. What's up, David?
Hey. I don't know what's up. Lots of things are up, but I'm kind of taken back that you said losers are winners, and then the loser part, then you introduced me.
I know, right? You're welcome. Well, hey, I'm a loser. I talk about all my failures all the time. I just want to share the mic and know that I'm not the only one.
It becomes easier after a while.
I know. Well, it's funny because we started the series about 6 months ago, and it's been one of our top downloaded episodes, our Thursday episodes. Just that I think it's so relatable in business. The reason I started it is just I think that unless you lose, unless you stumble, unless you make mistakes, how do we really learn? Show me anybody that's successful. They have a whole closet full of stories. And what I love about the platform of the podcast is just sharing the stories very vulnerably about what we can learn from each other. And, you and I got to meet in Chicago a couple months ago at the Contractor Coalition Summit. And, that opening mic night was a pretty special moment where people talked about their most difficult experiences in their lives. And it was very touching and very moving.
Yeah, no, it's a reality. It's a reality in life. It's a reality in business. And especially in business, if you aren't recognizing your losses, you can't get better.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, okay, this didn't work out so well. What can we change so this doesn't happen again?
Well, and you've been in business for 23 years approximately, maybe a little bit more. What are some things if you went back, and we were talking at lunch here about, Marty McFly from, Back to the Future. If you could go back and talk to a 30-year-old David, what are some things that you would tell him about lessons that you've learned over the last 2.5 decades?
It's a great question, Marty. It's starting a business. I think that there is this perceived notion that owning your business is the end-all, be-all answer. And anybody who's a business owner, he owns his own business. He owns his own business.
Like you've got some secret keys to the kingdom or something. Like after that, you're good to go.
Yep. And now after 23 years, you're like, you own your own business?
It's like, how often do you go to therapy?
Yeah. No, that's exactly
That's such
right.
a funny quote. That's so accurate.
Yeah, it's all in your tone.
It's so true.
Yeah, over the years there's so many things you trip on that you learn about. I go back to one project that we had, and it was recession world. It might have been 2008, 9, 10, right in there. But again, a time when we didn't have a lot of business, and we had a really good, we had a project, and this was going to be a good project for 9, 10 months. And as the project went, the level of craziness meter went up higher and higher with the client. And fast forward to finally being done with the job, and this person micromanaging, just diving into every. It was a fixed price job. She convinced the title company to give her the sworn. So she's now comparing all of our bills with every line item. And so we get to the end, and of course it's the final payment that's going to be the issue. And not until these things are done in the house. And so, we take care of a few things, and they're in. And then phone calls came about this and all the things that are wrong with the house. And This went to a crazy level that was really high. And, we ended up getting in a lawsuit. And literally, we went to the house with some of our key vendors who there were gripes with, attorneys, and we walk into this house and it is like a crime scene. This person had every installation manual out, laid out on the countertop, multiple 3-ring binders. The house has got notes all over it of what's wrong. I mean, it looked like a crime scene.
Wow.
Every tile had a piece of blue tape on it of some minor imperfection. It was off the charts. And, we're like, wow. I mean, so far as Andersen Windows had ended up having to rewrite their installation guide because they write it for everybody in the country. And she goes, these were not installed per your installation guides. We're like, well, correct, but in Minnesota, this is the appropriate way. Well, then it shouldn't be. So they ended up having to rewrite their installation guide. This thing was bananas, and it took months. And
Was she a lawyer?
She wasn't a lawyer, but she went to school for it.
I see.
And we found that out earlier on, so we're kind of ready. But, we went to arbitration. It never ended up going to court, and, insurance realized that she was crazy, and we settled out, and it ended up being fine. But at the end of the day, once the dust settled, it's like we looked at it and we're like, of course we didn't make any money on this job. However, when we looked back at it, so that's the loser part. The winner part is that for 9-10 months, this job kept us going. And it kept us afloat. And by the time we ended up getting to a point where, there was attorney fees and stuff, we had other projects and we had other jobs and things were really picking up. And I said, we kind of just borrowed that money for a year to get by and get us through it. And so it was a great story to look back and laugh on. It was painful during the process. But then what we learned about it, we learned more about how to read our customers a little bit. We learned more about how to put a few more lines in our specifications and in our contracts and tidying those up a little bit. You go through these situations and then you just go back and say, okay, guys, let's sit down. What did we learn? What do we change? And, you update your stuff and you move on and you use it on the next person. And you just keep marching forward because that's what we do because we're business owners.
Right. I mean, that's that resonates very strongly with me in particular, but I imagine the builders listening to this all have a story similar, and it's depending on where you are in your career. I remember going through something somewhat similar, and I remember it was the same time period, actually. It's 2009-10, and I remember my dad telling me, you got your master's degree in business in half the time and quadruple the cost. So I always thought that was kind of funny.
I love it.
Because, it obviously for you, it was a bridge is what happened.
That's what
right?
it was.
You got a bridge to
Yep.
the next time. Obviously, it's always painful you didn't get paid for your worth or your work. That being said, it was still an investment in your future. And how many future mistakes did you not make because of that experience? And so, I mean, experience, I think when you're younger, you and I were chatting again about this at lunch a little bit ago, but when you are younger, I know it seems like I used to always be able to sell no matter what age I was in. When I was younger, it was like we got jobs because, hey, we're going to give this young builder a shot. Lots of energy, lots of time, not a lot of commitments, no family, no kids. You could give a lot of your time. And then as you get older, you get smarter, you're more defined. There's no question I'm a better builder today than I was. But it's just
Correct.
funny,
Yeah.
you can always sort of find a way to connect with the client for a sales proposition. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, at a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm young, I'm full of energy. I don't have a lot of stuff going on, so I'm going to be 100% on your job, and we're going to take care of you. And then, fast forward 20 years, and it's like, listen, I got a lot of experience under my belt. My team has been trained in. They're going to take care of you, and it works.
It does, and I think it's us, it's you and me, knowing who we are. The clearer we know our mission and what we believe, the clearer we can communicate that to the client. I think it's the in-between when we're transitioning where we don't really quite know what kind of company or who we are, where that messaging is really confusing to the client. I've had clients before where They didn't hire us because we actually just recently, we don't have a director of operations. And they said, well, if something happens to you specifically, what will happen? And I explained what would happen. And they went with a different company that was bigger than us because they liked the idea that there was totally team, which we're team-based too, but we're just a much smaller team.
Yeah.
And I've had other people choose us specifically, especially when I was younger. Because of that. So it's just, you can't appeal to everyone. It's just so funny. And you're like, you sometimes like to guess at what you think the client is looking for. But I mean, they'll tell you. You just ask them.
Yep, you just ask them. And sometimes we profile.
Yeah.
You've talked on some of your podcasts, cost plus or fixed price.
Yep.
And, sometimes it's the complexity of the job and the size of the project. Sometimes, in our world, we found sometimes it's the client. If you're an engineer, I'm going to choose a different route. If you're an accountant, we built a house for my accountant. And he knows our books. He knows everything. And I said, you're going to be fixed price. I said, because I don't want you accounting for everything. And he says, that's probably a good idea.
That's so funny. I think that's situational because we actually built one last year. She was an accountant and they wanted a fixed price. And so I said, be happy to do it for you. And she's like, well, then can we see every single invoice? I'm like, that's not how that works. That's called a cost plus.
Exactly.
And I said, but we could do it either way. It's A or B. You choose. Do you want me to control the end destination or do you want to control the end destination? And she chose that she wanted to do it. And she's a great client.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to build it for you. Here's what's funny. She is the only client I have ever had in 21 years that came in under budget. Ever. But however, it was hedged a little bit. They added like $100,000 or $200,000 right as we signed the contract, so they kind of had a buffer.
They put a contingency in there right off the bat.
So, I mean, it was a little. I like to say that though, and so she was. But I mean, every penny. But and she loved my controller. Like a lot of my clients don't even meet my controller.
Sure.
I think she got to know him better than me. I mean, she was here all the time looking at invoices and going, great, no problem. Here they are. And she never had an issue. She was delightful to work for. But a lot of it is understanding. My kryptonite
100%.
has always been engineers.
Yeah.
Her husband was an engineer. And it was funny because he ended up liking my project manager a lot more than me. When they did a summer boat cruise, I wasn't invited. He invited the architect and the project manager, but I didn't get the invite. And I just
Perfect.
And I was like, I wasn't mad. I actually thought it was sort of humorous because we both knew each other, right? Like, I'm sure I talked too fast, too loud, too whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but that's super cool.
Yeah, I thought so
too. Like, I mean, your team did such a great job that they wanted to bring them. That they deserve it.
And I was super happy about it. But it was just it's kind of fun. I think you got to be able to laugh at yourself a little bit too. So.
Yeah, I think, to your losers or winners, I think that's the biggest thing is you have to be able to laugh at yourself and make fun of yourself. And I mean, if you could be that fly on the wall in our office, all we do is make fun of ourselves. Mm-hmm. I mean, we just have so much fun in that office and on the job sites, and that's how you get through it.
When you got to meet Brad Robinson from Georgia at Contractor Coalition, and he had a line that I really like, and now it's been pretty popular. I don't even know if it was his. It doesn't matter. He's just the one that told it to me. But he's like, I'm fine with failure. In fact, I want to fail, but I want to fail fast. Because the nice benefit of being a small business is that when we fail, we're small businesses. We can adjust quickly. You look at like a big company like Target or United Health or some of these, the federal government, or just the bigger the company, everyone has failures. It's just so much harder for them to switch. And they almost always have to do regime changes, right? It's like the CEO was ahead of during this period of time. Well, they're gone. I mean, look at government, you look at whatever. It's just like the bigger the entity, it's so hard for them to change course. It takes years, decades, centuries for huge pivots, depending on how big the infrastructure is. Where I think one of our superpowers of being small businesses is that when we fail fast, that feedback loop can be, it's quite painful, but it also is quite quick. So we can change assuming we're listening.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you got to have your ears open. Yeah. I think it was it Tony Robbins, fail forward fast?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And I love it. That just totally makes sense.
Fail forward. I've heard that one too.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Lake Society magazine is Minneapolis' premier target market boutique lifestyle and design publication. It embodies the unique lifestyles and design of the Minneapolis City Lakes neighborhoods. From Lake of the Isles to Lake Harriet, It showcases the best in local design projects by both premier builders, architects, and interior designers in this area. Lake Society magazine has the look and feel of a national publication with glossy covers, high-end finishes. It's mailed directly to upper bracket single-family homeowners in the City Lakes area, and it's the perfect local coffee tabletop publication. Subscriptions can also be available through the website lakesocietymagazine.com. Additionally, publisher and founder Karen Steckel has over 27 years in the local magazine publishing industry and has a passion for high-end photography and quality graphics. Her commitment to quality, visual simplicity, and beauty are strongly reflected in her beautiful Lake Society magazine.
I think if you're afraid of failure, you're not going to make decisions. And I think as business owners, we have to be able to make decisions. We have to do them fast sometime. And we fail fast, and we change, and we do it again.
So let me ask you a question. Do you guys do spec homes at all?
Yes.
Not? Okay. Have you always done spec homes?
That has been a part of the belief of our business.
Okay.
So we've always had, not always, but within the first 3 years of our business, we've had a neighborhood or two neighborhoods that we are the sole builder in. And my philosophy has always been, you can't sell cars on an empty lot. So if you're a car dealer and you got an empty lot and you just have your sign up, nobody's going to come in. And that's the same thing with our neighborhood. So we always have a spec home out there to get people to drive that traffic, come into the neighborhood. Oh, I didn't know this neighborhood is here. It's a super cool neighborhood. It's very unique. Let's check out this house. It's a great house. Let's buy it. Oh, it's a great house. It's not for us, but we like that lot over there by the park. And so we have always had 1, 2, 3 spec homes in play.
Wow. This is where I'm going with this question, from when you started in 2003 to where we're at now. Has your risk tolerance changed as you've gotten older? Like, for instance, I feel like I probably took more chances when I was younger, but now I give a lot of courage, or a lot of credit, I should say, to people that start a business. They have grown kids, and like they take a big leap into that, where both you and I were pretty young. Both of us didn't have kids when we started,
Right.
So we didn't have sort of that pressure, if you will. But if you were to look back, do you feel like you have more tolerance towards risk or less tolerance as you've gone through your career?
That's a great question, because you're right. At the beginning, what'd you have to lose? Right.
Did you know But did you know you had nothing to lose? Like, I was not aware of it till someone told me.
Yeah, I have always felt that it's easier to take the risk if you don't have the money to lose. And once you're building, your business matures and you start to see, the growth and reserves, and you're like, I don't know, I don't want to risk this little nest egg. And it's definitely in the back of my mind, but because from the beginning I've always said, we'll just take spec homes, or we'll take, developments, because I have to buy more land and develop it, and it's super painful and super expensive. But it's just been part of who we are. And a really, really growth of our business is having that development in that neighborhood. Because a lot of people come in and they see our stuff and they go, oh, really like it. You know what? We have 120 acres over, 30 miles from here. Can you build there? And we do. And we probably wouldn't get that if we didn't have the sales tool of our neighborhood in our spec home. So is it harder? I don't think it's harder, because it's always been what we do and who we are. Now, having said that, 5 years ago, I brought on a CFO, and he does not like it.
It was just why you brought him on.
It was just why I brought him on.
To help regulate risk.
But he too has seen, over the years, he's understanding my philosophy behind it.
And the reason I say that twofold is, one, I think competence or confidence is a byproduct of skill. So like, think of a rock climber. When you first rock climb, let's say on a Rocky Mountain or skiing the more you do it, the more comfortable you are with the exposure. It doesn't decrease the risk. The risk is always there, but you are confident in your ability to, let's say, ski this chute, or
Sure.
rock climb along this spine. But I think if we lose sight of the risk completely, that can be very dangerous. I was just, when we were sitting down, we were just talking about this great quote from Warren Buffett that comes up right now. It's, you only find out who's swimming naked when the tide goes out. And it's such a great quote.
I love it.
But that's true of risk. And so I like to ask other people, like, I've always kind of felt that if I'm building a spec home, my risk on one, let's say, and it's a one-off lot, my reward isn't as good because I can't sell into a neighborhood, but my risk isn't as great either because I don't have a takedown schedule for a bunch of other lots. So risk reward. A development, especially, are you developing your own developments?
Yeah.
So I mean, and I always, this is a whole other podcast. I'd love to hear more about that. But in terms of like, I've always been told like you got to buy the dirt right. Like you buy the dirt right and the whole project works. If you get burned on the dirt, it can really, it can tank the whole thing, right?
It could, yeah.
And so I'm curious, like it takes me about anywhere from 6 months. Like if I wanted right now to start a spec home, I could probably start one in about 6-7 months. By the time I figure out financial partners, architecture partners, spin up a concept, whatever, and then it's going to take me, so let's just call it a 2-year cycle from like today if I want to start a new spec. But to do a land development, what, 3 years, 5 years? Like, because you've got to go find the land, you got to find the financing, you got to go through city council, you got to divide it. I mean, what would be the maturity life cycle of that? Where I'm trying to go with this question, and this is why I'll paint it really solid so you can kind of navigate this for the audience and for me too, is like building a custom home is like a 2-year window. What would you say a window of a 10 lot subdivision or 15 lot? What's a normal subdivision lot for you?
We just did one 4 years ago at 22 lots.
Okay, so 22 lots. What is that time horizon from the time that you say I want to do it, identify it, find the capital to do it, actually create the development to the time that you exit the last home? How many years are we talking here?
Oh, till all 22 are sold?
From beginning to end.
Oh, that's a market question on selling the lots. I would say from, hey, found the land, let's buy it. So typically found the land, let's buy it, enter into a purchase agreement with the landowner and have some level of due diligence. And now you grind and you do some engineering and you see if this thing actually can happen.
Pencil out, yeah.
Until we can start digging our first house. 12 months.
But it's pretty fast, honestly. That's fast.
It's fast, and again, it's market driven. I think if that's in central Minnesota, if you take that and you put it down in a different city, it takes longer, and the process takes longer. But again, that's probably the fastest. And if you have to go back and forth with city council and planning commission, those things only happen once a month.
Takes some time.
So I can be ready on the next day, but I don't get to present it for another month. So yeah, it does take some time.
But so let's just say it's a year. Let's say be generous, a year to 2 year to find it, develop it, get it ready to go. Now 22, and again, market driven. But you're probably looking at what, 4 years of inventory? 5 years? How long will it take you to get through 22?
Probably 6 years, 7 years.
6 years. Where I'm going with this is I had a 2 year window of exposure. You've got 6. How do you navigate the ups and downs of a market where it ebbs and flows? Now, obviously, we've had some huge corrections in our careers, the biggest one obviously being the second half of 8, 9, 10, 11. Other than that, I guess in our careers, that's been the lowest big one for land in particular, like business record decisions. COVID, actually, we didn't know what was going to happen. We had a 1 month where everyone was like, is this the end of us? And then it was like, oh, nope, this is a supercharger for building community. Holy smokes.
Didn't see it coming.
You didn't see that one coming either. That was a different stress.
Yeah.
In your career, how do you look at that risk, knowing that when you go in development, you've got a 6 year window that you have to mitigate risk on?
Right. I mean, a lot of it is pro formas and just figuring out, how many lots I have to sell by what time. And then during the development stage, before we're ready for putting in foundations, it's heavy marketing. Mm-hmm. So we try to make our neighborhoods unique in some level, buying the right land. And then what are you doing with that land, and what's your story? What's unique about this neighborhood? This particular one, it's a 22 lot cul-de-sac on a golf course with a pond on the other side if you're not on the golf course. It's funny, you mentioned, during the recession, there was a time where there were opportunities. And, we bought 2 neighborhoods that, one builder just wanted to get out of. We strapped together some financial partners and talked with some banks, and we bought that neighborhood at a discount. Then there was another neighborhood that went back to the bank, went back to the county, went to a county auction, and we bought those lots fully developed for $15,000. Granted, we just finished them. There were 35 of them, but great way to get into that. And so I think the recession created some opportunities, because our area just got overdeveloped. So there were some opportunities depending on what market you were building in.
That's funny. This is my next one.
You got
from
another one from Warren?
Warren Buffett said this: "Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful." So you were, quote, greedy in that recession, like, hey, there's an opportunity to buy these lots at pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get them. Somehow you either had the cash or you had the wherewithal. I always kind of say, I'm curious, we'll wrap it up with this, but like, I started 2 years after you. I was in 2005. I've often said that, like, I wasn't big enough because I hadn't been in business very long enough to lose anything. I didn't have anything to lose. Like, I didn't have developments. I had one home. So for me, it was a lot. I had a spec home at the fall of 2008. Great timing.
Yep, perfect.
And a similar situation to your bridge story. I was able to rent it to somebody and just stayed neutral, covered my bank payments for a year and a half.
Yep.
And that year and a half just got me out of that. It just bridged me to another. So many people went out of business. I didn't make any money. I remember, I rented out my bed and slept on a couch. That's how poor I was. And but my point being is that I didn't have much to lose. Did you find that, like, what are some lessons that you learned during the recession looking back? I mean, were you over leveraged at that time as well, or kind of the same story that you didn't have enough big play? Because a lot of the middle-sized developers went out because if land went from here to here, back to the home analogy. If my home analogy is only a year or two to pivot, a development is you're out, you're done.
Right.
You can't change that.
Yeah, I think I've always, there's a couple things, can't sell cars on an empty lot, and know what you don't know, and partner with people. So we'll take the county auction, for instance. I went there and I was going to buy all these lots. And they had sold them in a bulk. So not just buying one lot. They said, we're not going to try to auction off 35 lots. We're going to auction off one that has 35 lots in it. And I looked at the room, and I saw a guy there, and I knew why he was there. So I pulled him outside, and I said, why are you here? And he goes, I think the same reason you're here. And I said, let's not bid this thing to the sky so one of us wins. I said, let me buy it, and you join me. And that's what we did. And so there was only two of us that wanted it. I bought it at the bidding price. And then afterwards, we connected, we partnered, and we split the deal. Yeah, I could have got it all for twice as much. It didn't make sense. And so, that's one way of leveraging, if you will, and bringing in.
That reminds me of that old adage of pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered.
Yep.
I mean, maybe, it's smart for you to recognize that opportunity, and smart for him too, to be humble enough to realize that, like, A, you had to work out a deal on a handshake and trust each other.
Exactly.
You and I were talking about a different topic earlier, but like, our reputations are really important, or they are to me. I've actually found that sometimes and this has only happened once, I had a client one time that used my desire to have a good reputation as a weapon against me. And so I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but basically, like, I care about what people say. And not so much that I'm going to, like, change my life for it, but like, yeah, I would like to think I'm a good person. I try to do good things. And like, nobody wants someone walking around bad mouthing or anything like that. Right.
Correct.
And so, and then when you have someone that does that, you don't really know. At that time in my life, I didn't really know what to do with that. I'd never really had anyone in my life that has sort of acted like that. And so the fear it was fear. I had to get rid of that. So for me, it was the fear I had of this fictitious boogeyman, or whoever I thought that they could tell, which is stupid now in hindsight.
Right.
But at the time, I thought it was like, well, I can't let them walk around this town. So I let them walk all over me, because I was more afraid of my reputation being tarnished than I was about standing up to these people. And again, that's a learning thing. That was losers are lessons learned. I definitely paid for that lesson. Very, very hardful. And is like, now I realize, like, there is the benefit of drawing a clear boundary. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not, and it's okay. Like, my dad used to have this old saying, I'm sure he got it from somewhere else, that the people that care don't matter, and the people that matter don't care.
Yep.
And so I think understanding that, and understanding that your self-worth comes from yourself and from those that love you and deeply care about you, then therefore, if other people outside of that envelope are throwing in arrows at you, you're like, well, I've got a shield here. I'm going to be just fine.
And I think at some level, especially in today's world of social media, I fear for our kids growing up, but it's I'm being judged, and I think you always have that at some level. I'm being judged, but at some point, when you, like you said, when you stand your ground, you say, no, this is how we do it, and this is why. There's a level of respect that comes with that, and I think customers appreciate that too. Versus
I think
versus
clarity.
being able to say, oh yeah, that can work. No, this is how we do it, and this is why. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Clear communication. I think it's Brene Brown is famous for it, but clear is kind is her comment. You don't have to agree with the person, but at least they're clear at what their expectations are. I want to respect your time and the audience as well. Thanks for coming in on
Thanks for
Thursday
having
episode.
me.
This is great.
Do it again.
All right, let's do it.
Right on. Thanks.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Curious Builder podcast. If you like this episode, do us a favor. Share it with 3 other business owners. The best way that we can spread what we're doing is by word of mouth, and with your help, we can continue to help other curious builders expand their business. Please share it with your friends, like and review online, and thanks again for tuning in.